Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. There were a ton of different Formula Renault series throughout the history of motorsport, so let's go take a look at another one. We're going to look at every champion of the Formula Renault Eurocup, under all of its various names, starting with the series inception in 1991, all the way to the end and its merging with the Formula Regional European Championship in 2020. So with nearly 30 years of champions to look at, we are going to split this video in two. And so it is a very good idea to subscribe to the channel today to make sure you don't miss part 2 or any of the other motorsport content to come out of this channel. And with that, let's take a look at the Formula Renault Eurocup champions and what happened to them after. 1991, Jason Plato. It's weird to think of Jason Plato being on the single-seater ladder climbing his way towards F1, given that we know his career ended up differently. Kind of like being served steak and kidney pie at a 5-star restaurant. It would only last until 1995, winning the Renault Spider Cup in 1996 and moving on to the BTCC in 1997, and never looking back. In the years since, he has won 2 championships and is pretty close to winning 100 races. Jason Plato may never have made it into Formula 1, but he has been very successful in touring cars. 1992, Pedro de la Rosa. From Jason Plato to Pedro de la Rosa, the Spaniard has had his success in his own way, moving to Japan and having success there, and eventually ending up in Formula 1 with every backmarker team available. Starting with Arrows and then Jaguar, he had spent a large chunk of time as a McLaren employee and made a fair few starts for the team, even getting a podium, before going on to make appearances with Sauber and ending his career 13 years after making his debut with HRT. Whilst having limited success, he has been a test driver for Ferrari and with Aguri in Formula E and is now retired. 1993, Olivier Cavroux. This French racer barely left his home country but found a certain amount of success winning the Renault Eurocup in 1993. Sadly, however, he doesn't seem to have done much after. A single race in the French Touring Car Series and a single go at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, racing in an Alpa with Nicolas Minassian and Sebastien Bourdais' dad, Patrick. They did not see the finish and Cavroux apparently quit racing soon after. Nowadays he is a construction manager, possibly for a roofing firm. 1994, James Matthews. We have talked about Pippa Middleton's husband before. The British Formula Renault champion won this series in the same year as his UK success, but had other goals than motorsport. Being rich and marrying into royalty apparently being top of his bucket list. 1995, Cyril Sauvage. Another French champion, but I think there were high hopes for Cyril Sauvage at some point. He got to spend a few years in the International F3000 series, first with Appomattox, then Draco, then GP Racing and Monaco Motorsport. Over 4 years and 35 races, Sauvage did not accomplish much. In fact, he scored just 8 points in total. He'd raced in the Porsche Super Cup but had little success there either, and entered semi-retirement after 2002. 1996, Enrique Bernoldi. The much maligned Brazilian was actually a pretty damn good racer, at least early in his career. After winning this championship in 1996, he'd get 2 podiums at Macau, finish runner-up in the British F3 series, finishing behind fellow Brazilian Mario Haberfeld, and snagged a test drive with the Sauber F1 team for a couple of years, whilst racing in the International F3000 series. He'd get a drive with Arrows in Formula 1 just as they were entering into their death throes, and whilst he struggled to finish races mainly due to mechanical issues, he did occasionally keep up with his experienced teammate Jos Verstappen. Arrows went under midway through 2002 and no one else signed Bernoldi. He'd continued to be a test driver for BAR for a few years, whilst racing in IndyCar for a single season before entering the world of GT racing, taking wins for the Vitaphone Maserati team. There were no other championship victories and he retired from full-time racing around 2011, but Bernoldi wasn't that bad really. Was he? 1997, Jeffrey Van Hooijdonk. The Belgian driver is a national level superstar, but had his roots in single-seater racing. Winning the Formula Renault Eurocup led to international Formula 3000, but Van Hooijdonk would have 4 mediocre seasons in the series and only got a test drive with Midland's F1 in the aftermath. He'd eventually be content racing in the National Belgium GT Series, winning the Belgium Endurance Series in 2018 and most recently in 2021. So he is still going and still winning championships. Belgium championships. 1998, Bruno Besson. I had never heard of this Frenchman and it's easy to see why. His career never really took off, even after winning the Formula Renault Eurocup. National level GT racing was where he frequented most, but he did race in the French F3 series for a few years and even ended up in the World Series by Nissan and Formula Parma Audi. He'd have a couple of goes at Le Mans without realising any kind of success, and he retired after 2009, but made an appearance in the French GT4 series in 2019. 1999, Gianmaria Bruni. The Italian had a rough ride to F1. He won the Renault Eurocup and moved up to British F3. He did okay in the series over a couple of years and was even testing for Minardi Formula 1 team in 2003, but sponsorship was proving hard to come by. Even so, he managed to get into F1 with Minardi for 2004, struggling in a poor car and scoring no points. He would move on to GT racing after this and has never looked back. He has won his class at Le Mans 3 times, won his class in the World Endurance Championship twice, and finished in the top 3 6 times. He has had class podiums in America and in the European Le Mans series, and is also an international GT champion. Bruni has proven to be one of the best GT class racers in the world. 2000, Felipe Massa. I think we know what happened to the Brazilian. A year later he would win the Euro Formula 3000 series. Another year he was racing in Formula 1 with Sauber, and a few more years and he was in a Ferrari, winning Formula 1 Grand Prix and finishing runner-up to Lewis Hamilton in the championship. However, he has not won any kind of race since 2008. After leaving Formula 1, he would have a couple of seasons in Formula E with Venturi, neither of which went well, and still to this day he races in the Brazilian Stock Car Series and he hasn't won there either. Felipe Massa should probably retire. 2001, Augusto Farfus. Another Brazilian champion and one that followed a very different career path. Farfus, like Massa before him, would go on to win the Euro 3000 series, but never made it into Formula 1. Instead, he headed to the world of touring cars. Between 2004 and 2010, he would take 15 wins and finish third in the 2006 and 2009 World Touring Car Championships. He would also take in a year as a BMW Sauber F1 test driver in 2007. Since then, he has finished runner-up in DTM and won quite a few GT races for BMW. He will be endurance racing once again in 2022. 2002, Eric Salignon. A talented young French racer who seemed to have the world at his feet. Beat some very good drivers to become the 2002 Formula Renault Eurocup champion, including the likes of Neil Jarni, Nicolas Lapierre, Jose Maria Lopez, Robert Kubica, Christian Klein, and Lewis Hamilton. Now, some of those only did a part season, but it is still a top list to be leading home to a championship. So what happened to Salignon? Not a lot, sadly. He'd have a meh season in British Formula 3, raced in the Formula 3 Euro Series in 2004, before 2 seasons in Formula Renault V8 3.5, which saw 2 wins, but after 2006 there was nothing. Not sure what happened, but as far as I can tell, he may be working with something to do with wine. Sad loss of talent, but that happens in motorsport. 2003, Esteban Guerreri. The Argentinian was involved in single-seaters far longer than I thought he was, winning this series as far back as 2003. His career meandered all over the place over the next few years. International F3000, Formula 3 Euro Series, Renault 3.5, British F3, Super League and AutoGP. 2010 was a key year for Guerreri because he finished third in the Formula Renault 3.5 series, just 13 points behind Daniel Ricciardo. But sadly this was the end of his single-seater career. He would first move to the Argentinian TC2000 series and take a few wins here and there, but his main series was racing for Honda in the World Touring Car Cup, which over the last 4 seasons he has taken 10 wins and finished runner-up behind Norbert Mikulits in 2019, and will be starting his 5th year in the series in 2022. 2004, Scott Speed. Oh, Scott Speed. He's had quite a career in various forms of motorsport. He spent a year and a half in Formula 1 with Toro Rosso and didn't score a single point, and I think most people agree it was a disaster. Scott Speed lacked speed. In the years since, he has been in pretty much every race series ever. He has raced in NASCAR and IndyCar, Formula E, but most successfully Rallycross. He was global and American Rallycross champion 4 years in a row and is now racing in the Nitro Rallycross series. So there are the first half of the champions of Formula Renault Eurocup. A fair few Formula 1 drivers listed here and a few whose careers plummeted off a cliff. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Do you remember watching this series? Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss part 2. Leave a like and tell your friends. Thank you for watching and have a good one.